Before we delve deep into the darkest corners of the human soul and explore a true story, or one that could have happened, about the terror and fear that once engulfed a nation, I want to take a moment. The world of true crime stories, unsolved mysteries, and individuals lurking in the shadows is a complex and often chilling one. If you, like me, are captivated by these stories, by the relentless effort to understand what drives us and what we can do to prevent such things, then you're in the right place. To make sure you don't miss out on deep, dramatic, and haunting stories like these, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel now. Your support helps us continue to bring you quality, thoroughly researched, and thought-provoking content. Join us as we delve into mysteries, explore the unknown, and confront the darkness to seek the light of truth. Now, take a deep breath, steel your mind, and join me as we step into the story of the Obsidian Weaver, a phantom that sowed terror across America. The city of Los Angeles, a sprawling tapestry of dreams and shadows, was bathed in the kind of perpetual golden hour that only California can produce. Palm trees swayed in a gentle, almost indifferent breeze, and the Pacific Ocean hummed its ancient song just beyond the bustling highways. Yet, beneath this veneer of sun-drenched prosperity, a different kind of darkness was beginning to gather, one that would soon cast a pall over the entire nation. It began subtly, as all great horrors often do. The first victim was a young woman named Sarah Chun, a vibrant graphic designer fresh out of UCLA, found in her West Hollywood apartment. Her death was brutal, intimate, a chilling act of strangulation. What truly set the initial investigation on edge, however, was not just the violence, but the meticulously placed, almost artistic signature left behind. A small, intricately woven charm made of polished obsidian, tied with a dark, almost invisible thread, resting precisely on her chest. It wasn't a warning, not a taunt. It felt more like an offering, or perhaps a claim. Detective Miles Corbin, a man whose face was a roadmap of past cases and sleepless nights, stood over Sarah Chen's body, the sterile scent of antiseptic struggling to mask the metallic tang of fear. His partner, Isabella Rossi, younger but equally sharp, knelt by the body, her gaze tracing the delicate, almost morbid beauty of the obsidian charm. "No forced entry, Miles," Rossi reported, her voice low. "Looks like she knew him, or he was incredibly skilled at breaking in without a trace." Corbin grunted, his eyes scanning the apartment. It was tidy, modern, filled with the vibrant energy of a young life abruptly extinguished. No sign of struggle that trashed the place. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was deliberate, personal. He pointed to the charm. "And that, what the hell is that?" Dr. Eris Thorne, the lead me, a woman with a dry wit and an encyclopedic knowledge of death, carefully bagged the charm. "Unique, isn't it? Black as night, smooth, perfectly crafted. Almost like a tiny, dark piece of art." Over the next 3 weeks, 2 more women met similar fates. Elena Rodriguez, a freelance journalist living in Silver Lake, and then Chloe Davis, a bartender from Koreatown. Each time, the method of killing was identical. Strangulation, efficient and merciless. And each time, the obsidian charm was left behind. A silent, chilling calling card. The patterns began to solidify, sending a shiver through the LAPD. All victims were women in their late 20s to early 30s, living alone and seemingly unconnected. The charm, however, was the undeniable link, binding these disparate lives into a horrifying narrative. The media, initially slow to connect the dots, exploded. The Obsidian Weaver, a name coined by a particularly sensationalist newspaper, quickly became synonymous with terror. Fear, cold and pervasive, seeped into the city's sun-drenched pores. Women started walking in pairs, checking their locks twice, and avoiding going out alone after dark. The vibrant nightlife that defined certain parts of LA began to wane, replaced by an uneasy silence. 3 victims, all within a month. Captain Miller, a man whose patience was as thin as his hairline, barked during a tense morning briefing. No witnesses, no solid forensic leads beyond the charm itself, and a city in a panic. "What do we have, Corbin?" Corbin, fueled by lukewarm coffee and an unwavering sense of duty, laid out the grim facts. Similar victim profile, though no apparent connection beyond age and gender. All found in their homes. No signs of sexual assault, no items stolen, beyond the lives themselves. The Obsidian Weaver isn't motivated by typical means. Rossi added, "The charms are the key." Dr. Thorne's preliminary analysis suggests the obsidian is of a specific geological origin, possibly from the western United States, but that's a wide net. The weaving pattern is complex, almost ritualistic. It suggests someone with incredible patience and skill, possibly an artisan. The psychological profile, developed by Dr. Evelyn Reed, a renowned forensic psychologist, painted a chilling picture. "We're looking at an organized, highly intelligent individual," Reed stated, her voice calm but firm. "Someone who meticulously plans his attacks, takes pride in his work, and likely views his victims not as individuals but as symbols. The lack of overt sexual assault points to control, not lust, as the primary motivator. The charm is his signature, a twisted form of artistic expression, a way to leave his mark and exert power. He believes he's performing a kind of ritual, perhaps even purifying or binding his victims." The implications were terrifying. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a premeditated campaign of terror orchestrated by a calculating mind. The fear wasn't just about dying. It was about being chosen, being woven into the killer's dark narrative. Corbin and Rossi worked tirelessly, their lives narrowing to a relentless pursuit. They interviewed countless friends, family members, ex-boyfriends, and colleagues of the victims. They scoured social media, checked phone records, and pulled surveillance footage from every camera within a 5-mile radius of each crime scene. Every lead, however promising, dissolved into nothing. The Weaver was a ghost, a phantom that struck and vanished without a trace, leaving only the cold stone charm and the echoes of a broken life. One night, after a particularly grueling day sifting through dead ends, Corbin found himself staring at a corkboard covered in victim photos and intricate diagrams of the charms. He ran a hand through his thinning hair, feeling the weight of the city's fear pressing down on him. "It's like he's everywhere and nowhere at once," Rossi murmured, leaning against the doorframe of their makeshift incident room. "He leaves these elaborate calling cards, but no prints, no DNA, nothing to tie him to the actual act. It's almost disrespectful how clean he is." "He's sending a message," Corbin said, not turning from the board. "But what is it? And why these women?" They pored over the victims' lives again, searching for an invisible thread. Sarah Chun, the bright graphic designer, had recently launched a successful online portfolio showcasing her bold, modern designs. Elena Rodriguez, the journalist, was known for her investigative pieces on local corruption and social justice issues. Chloe Davis, the bartender, was charismatic, popular, and a fixture in the city's vibrant nightlife scene. "They're all independent, successful, vibrant women," Rossi noted. "They all had a public presence in some way. Sarah's art, Elena's journalism, Chloe's social circle." Corbin's eyes narrowed. Public presence, an outward projection of self. Could it be a resentment against that? Against visibility? Dr. Reed's profile had mentioned a possible underlying resentment or a desire for control over those who outwardly display confidence or success. Could the Weaver feel overshadowed, ignored, or even ridiculed by such individuals? Was this his twisted way of reclaiming power, of making them invisible? The breakthrough, if it could be called that, came from a seemingly insignificant detail. A patrol officer, reviewing old security footage from a coffee shop near Elena Rodriguez's apartment, spotted a man who appeared in the background of several frames, always alone, always observing, never interacting. He was unremarkable in every way: average height, unassuming build, dark, nondescript clothing. He was the kind of person you'd forget 5 minutes after seeing him. Yet he was there, a silent sentinel, in the periphery of the frame, several days before Elena's murder. The image was grainy, the face unclear, but it was something. Corbin felt a flicker of hope, a tiny ember in the vast darkness. This wasn't the weaver himself, not definitively, but it was a presence. Someone watching. Someone planning. "He's meticulous," Corbin said to Rossi, pointing at the blurred figure. "He scouted them. He didn't just pick them at random. He chose them, he observed them, he learned their routines." The discovery ignited a new wave of urgency. They disseminated the image, however indistinct, to every officer, every precinct. They cross-referenced it with footage from Sarah Chun and Chloe Davis's neighborhoods. Slowly, agonizingly, more blurry images emerged, the same unassuming figure, a ghost in the machine, always just outside the main focus, always watching. The public, increasingly desperate for answers, held vigils and protests, demanding action. Politicians made impassioned speeches, promising every resource to catch the monster. But the monster remained elusive, a master of shadows, his only tangible trace the silent, ominous Obsidian charms. One evening, as the city lights began to twinkle across the vast expanse of Los Angeles, Corbin received a call that sent a fresh wave of ice through his veins. Another body. This time, in a quiet, affluent neighborhood in Pasadena. Fourth victim. And another Obsidian charm. This time, the victim was Dr. Eleanor Vance, a respected university professor known for her groundbreaking research in ancient textiles and archaeological artifacts. She was older, in her late 50s, breaking the established victim profile. The weaver was evolving, or perhaps revealing a deeper, more complex layer to his motivation. Corbin stood in Dr. Vance's elegant study, the scent of old books and dried flowers filling the air. The Obsidian charm lay on her chest, a stark, brutal contrast to the academic serenity of the room. It was the same intricate weaving, the same dark stone. But this time there was a subtle difference. The charm was slightly larger, and the weaving seemed even more complex, almost a miniature masterpiece of dark craftsmanship. "He's getting bolder," Rossi whispered, her voice tight with a mixture of fear and determination. "And he's changing his target. Why a professor of ancient textiles?" Corbin's mind raced. Textiles. Weaving. Obsidian. The signature was all about craftsmanship, about binding. Could Dr. Vance's expertise in textiles be the link, not her age or public presence? Was the weaver sending a message specifically to her? Or perhaps was he learning, adapting, even challenging the very investigators trying to understand him? "He's not just killing them," Corbin said, his gaze fixed on the charm. "He's telling us something, and we're not listening closely enough." The weight of the investigation, the lives lost, the city's terror, pressed down on him with crushing force. The genesis of fear had given birth to a pervasive dread, and the weaver's dark tapestry was only just beginning to unfurl. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was far from over. The murder of Dr. Eleanor Vance sent ripples of confusion and renewed panic through the LAPD and the public alike. Her age, her profession, her established academic career, none fit the initial profile of young, independent women with a public-facing modern presence. The Obsidian weaver had shifted his pattern, or rather, revealed a deeper layer to it. "He's evolving," Dr. Reed stated during an emergency profiling session. "Or perhaps he's always had a broader scope, and we simply hadn't seen it yet." The key is Dr. Vance's profession. Ancient textiles, archaeological artifacts. This directly relates to the weaving aspect of his signature. It's a statement, a challenge even. Corbin felt a surge of frustrated realization. So he's not just a killer, he's a showman. He's intellectual, precise. He chose Dr. Vance not despite her profession, but because of it. Rossi, ever the pragmatist, was already cross-referencing Dr. Vance's publications and research papers. She published extensively on weaving patterns in ancient Mesoamerican cultures, particularly their use of obsidian in ritualistic objects. Could he be drawing inspiration from her work? The notion was chilling. A killer not only leaving an intricate signature but one that directly referenced the academic work of one of his victims. It elevated the weaver from a mere serial killer to a macabre artist, a twisted intellectual. The next few weeks were a blur of intense activity. The grainy surveillance footage of the unassuming man was enhanced, scrutinized, and circulated wider. Hundreds of tips flooded in, most of them dead ends, fueled by paranoia and suspicion. People saw the Obsidian Weaver in every shadow, every quiet stranger. Corbin and Rossi delved deeper into Dr. Vance's life, hoping to find a connection beyond her academic work. They interviewed her colleagues, her students, and her small circle of friends. One of her former students, a brilliant but somewhat eccentric young man named Arthur Pendleton, caught their attention. He had been particularly devoted to Dr. Vance's research, almost obsessively so. He was an archivist at a local museum, a quiet, almost invisible man who spent his days surrounded by historical documents and forgotten artifacts. He fit the physical description from the blurry footage, though no one could positively identify him. Pendleton, when interviewed, was polite, articulate, and seemed genuinely saddened by Dr. Vance's death. He provided an alibi working late at the museum, alone, corroborated by security logs, and was subsequently dismissed as a suspect. Yet, Corbin felt an unsettling prickle of intuition about him. Meanwhile, the psychological profile deepened. Dr. Reed now theorized that the Weaver saw himself as a curator of justice, or perhaps a restorer of balance. The victims, in his distorted view, represented elements of society that he deemed flawed, superficial, or even corrupt. Sarah Chen's vibrant online presence, Elena Rodriguez's critical journalism, Chloe Davis's social butterfly nature, and now, Dr. Vance's academic insight into the very craft he appropriated each murder was a carefully chosen statement. He's not just killing them, he's binding them, conceptually, Reed explained. The obsidian, traditionally used for protection, divination, and binding in many cultures, is his tool. He's silencing voices, extinguishing lights, and then symbolically weaving them into his personal narrative of righteous indignation. He believes he's creating a new order, a new form of beauty through his dark craft. This analysis, while providing a terrifying glimpse into the killer's mind, offered little practical help in catching him. The fear continued to escalate. The LAPD formed a dedicated task force, bringing in FBI profilers and forensic experts from across the country. The pressure mounted, both from the public and from Washington, D.C. Then came the fifth victim, Michael Sterling, a prominent art gallery owner, known for his lavish parties and discerning eye for modern sculpture. He was found in his Beverly Hills mansion, also strangled, also with an obsidian charm on his chest. But this time the victim was a man. The shift was monumental. The Obsidian Weaver was no longer targeting just women. The carefully constructed profile crumbled, forcing the investigators back to square one, albeit with new parameters. Sterling's profession, however, provided a fresh, albeit disturbing, avenue. Art, craftsmanship, beauty. He's a curator, Corbin muttered, revisiting Reed's profile. Sterling curated art. Vance curated ancient textiles. Chun created graphic art. There's a link to the aesthetic, to creation, to public display of taste or talent. Rossi, connecting the dots, added, and what if his motivation isn't just about resentment against those who are visible, but about envy of their ability to create, to shape culture, to be recognized? The idea that the Weaver was a failed artist, or someone who felt their own creative genius was unappreciated, began to take root. Someone who deeply admired, yet profoundly resented, those who achieved success in the very realms he coveted. This brought Arthur Pendleton, the quiet archivist with an intense interest in Dr. Vance's work, back into sharp focus. He had seemed so innocuous, so forgettable. Corbin and Rossi decided to pay Pendleton another visit, this time unannounced. They found him in the dimly lit archives of the museum, surrounded by towering shelves of dusty books and ancient scrolls. He was meticulously cleaning a delicate parchment, his movements precise, almost ritualistic. "Detective Corbin, Detective Rossi," Pendleton said, his voice soft, a hint of surprise in his eyes. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Corbin observed him closely. Pendleton was slender, neatly dressed, with spectacles perched on his nose. His hands, though slender, seemed strong, capable. He was utterly unremarkable, almost painfully so. And that, Corbin realized, was precisely what made him remarkable. "We're just following up on a few details, Mr. Pendleton," Rossi began, her tone casual. "We've had another incident, unfortunately. A gallery owner, Michael Sterling." Pendleton's brow furrowed. "Oh, that's terrible. I heard about it on the news. Such a vibrant part of the city's art scene." "You have an interest in art, Mr. Pendleton?" Corbin pressed. "A passing interest, yes," he replied, carefully setting down the parchment. "I appreciate beauty, history, the preservation of human endeavor. It's why I do what I do. It's a quiet satisfaction, knowing you're protecting something invaluable." Corbin's gaze fell on a small, dark stone charm hanging from a chain around Pendleton's neck. It was polished obsidian, unadorned, but strikingly similar in material to the murder weapon. "That's an interesting piece you have there," Corbin remarked, trying to keep his voice neutral. Pendleton touched the charm almost reverently. "Ah, this personal project. I dabble in amateur lapidary work, you see. A hobby. Obsidian is a fascinating stone. So dark, so reflective, yet so fragile if not handled correctly. And it has a deep history in many cultures, often associated with protection and the spirit world." Corbin and Rossi exchanged a subtle glance. Lapidary work, crafting with stone, and his knowledge of obsidian's cultural significance. It was too specific, too relevant. "May we see your workshop, Mr. Pendleton?" Rossi asked, her voice hardening slightly. Pendleton hesitated for a fraction of a second, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes, before his placid demeanor returned. "Of course, it's just a small space in my apartment. Nothing terribly exciting, I assure you." They followed him to his modest, meticulously clean apartment. The living area was sparse, orderly. But in a spare room they found a small, impeccably organized workshop. Tiny tools were arranged with surgical precision, along with raw chunks of obsidian, polished stones, and spools of dark, fine thread. On a workbench, half-finished obsidian charms lay, each one a testament to painstaking detail. "You're quite skilled, Mr. Pendleton," Corbin said, picking up one of the finished charms. It was identical in every way to those found at the crime scenes. Pendleton straightened, a subtle change in his posture, a stiffness in his shoulders. "I find solace in the craft, in bringing order to chaos, in creating something beautiful and lasting from raw material. Many people dismiss those who work with their hands, those who prefer the quiet pursuit of artistry over the clamor of self-promotion." His words, delivered in a calm, almost philosophical tone, were laced with a bitterness that had been previously hidden. It was a resentment, deep and simmering, that had found a voice. "Do you resent those who are self-promoting, Mr. Pendleton?" Rossi asked, her eyes fixed on him. Pendleton turned, his face still placid, but his eyes now held a chilling glint, like polished obsidian. "Resent? No. I simply believe there's a certain imbalance. People who loudly proclaim their genius, their creativity, while true artistry, true dedication, goes unnoticed. People who build empires on fleeting trends, while genuine, timeless craftsmanship is relegated to dusty archives. They forget the essence of creation, the binding threads that hold society together. They forget the darkness that can consume superficial light." Corbin felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. The carefully constructed profile, the intellectual killer, the meticulous artisan, it all converged on the unassuming archivist. The man who felt invisible, yet yearned to leave a mark. "Mr. Pendleton," Corbin said, his voice firm, "we need you to come down to the station for more questioning, and we'll need to collect these items as evidence." A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Pendleton's lips. "Evidence? For what, detective? For appreciating the beauty of stone and thread? For having a hobby?" His calm tone was unnerving, completely at odds with the gravity of the situation. He knew they were onto him, but he maintained a chilling composure. As they escorted Arthur Pendleton out of his apartment, the sun was beginning to set, casting long, menacing shadows across the city. The web, so painstakingly spun by the Obsidian weaver, was finally tightening. But Corbin knew the fight was far from over. Pendleton's placid exterior hid a mind of complex, dangerous darkness, and unraveling it would be the hardest challenge of their careers. The city might have a name for its monster, but the true horror was only just beginning to reveal itself. The interrogation room was cold, stark, and utterly unforgiving. Arthur Pendleton sat opposite Detectives Corbin and Rossi, his hands clasped neatly on the polished table. He maintained the same unnerving calm he had displayed in his apartment. His eyes, magnified by his spectacles, revealing nothing but a quiet, almost serene detachment. "Mr. Pendleton, we have the obsidian charms from your workshop," Corbin began, his voice devoid of emotion, a deliberate tactic. "They are identical in material and intricate weaving to the charms found at 5 murder scenes across Los Angeles." Pendleton nodded slowly. "As I told you, I dabble in lapidary work. It's a precise craft. It would not surprise me if my methods yielded similar results to others with the same tools and materials. But these are exactly identical, Mr. Pendleton," Rossi interjected, her voice sharp, "down to the unique imperfections in the obsidian and the specific tension of the thread. And we found traces of blood, microscopic but present, on one of the tools in your workshop. A match to Sarah Chin." For the first time, a flicker something akin to a triumphant pride crossed Pendleton's face, quickly masked. "Blood? Curious. Perhaps an accident with a sharp tool. These things happen." Corbin leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. "We also have security footage, Mr. Pendleton. Your image, however blurred, appears near the homes of 4 of the victims in the days leading up to their deaths. And we have records of you purchasing large quantities of obsidian from a specialized supplier, far more than a hobbyist would typically acquire." Pendleton sighed, a soft, almost theatrical sound. "Ah, the ever-present eyes of the digital age. One cannot even observe the rhythms of a city without being catalogued. As for the obsidian, I confess, my hobby can be quite consuming. I find the creation process meditative." The cat-and-mouse game continued for hours. Pendleton deflected, rationalized, and offered alternative explanations, each one meticulously crafted, like his charms. He was intelligent, articulate, and utterly devoid of remorse. He was not confessing. He was, in his own twisted way, performing. Dr. Reed was brought in, observing from behind the one-way mirror. "He's enjoying this," she murmured to Captain Miller. "He's always felt invisible. Now he's the center of attention. This is his final, grand performance. He's reveling in the chaos he created, the fear he instilled." Corbin shifted tactics. "Why, Mr. Pendleton? Why these people? Sarah Chun, Elena Rodriguez, Chloe Davis, Dr. Eleanor Vance, Michael Sterling. What did they have in common, in your eyes?" Pendleton finally looked up, his gaze meeting Corbin's directly. His voice, when he spoke, was no longer just calm, but imbued with a chilling conviction. "They were weavers, detective. All of them. They wove narratives, public personas, illusions of beauty and truth. Sarah with her graphics, Elena with her words, Chloe with her social tapestry, Sterling with his curated art. And Dr. Vance, she understood the very essence of weaving, the power of binding, of creation. But they all forgot the underlying truth, that the most intricate threads are often the most fragile. They forgot the darkness that gives definition to light." He paused, a faint, almost pitying smile playing on his lips. "They created beautiful, ephemeral things, but they were superficial. They lacked depth, lacked the true permanence of obsidian. They championed the fleeting, the sensational, while the profound, the truly meaningful was ignored, dismissed, forgotten," Corbin pressed. "And you were one of the forgotten, weren't you, Mr. Pendleton? An archivist, surrounded by history, but feeling invisible in the present." Pendleton's smile widened, a chilling, genuine expression of amusement. "Invisible? Oh, I was more than invisible, detective. I was a ghost. a whisper in the halls of history. While others basked in the spotlight of their transient creations, I saw the true threads, the binding threads, the ones that held things together, and the ones that frayed. I learned from Dr. Vance's work the ancient ways, the rituals of binding and sacrifice, the power of the obsidian. It's not just a stone. It's a conduit, a symbol of transformation. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I simply corrected the imbalance. I unbound them from their superficial threads and wove them into something permanent, something meaningful, something that will be remembered long after their fleeting art has faded. I am the true weaver, the obsidian weaver. The confession, delivered with such detached, almost academic precision, sent a shiver down Corbin's spine. Pendleton wasn't just admitting to the murders. He was articulating his entire twisted philosophy, his rationale, his self-proclaimed role as a dark, avenging artist. Rossi, seizing on his self-aggrandizement, pressed further. And what about the shift, Mr. Pendleton? From young women to a professor, then a gallery owner? What was your grand design? Ah, the progression, Pendleton mused, almost as if discussing a thesis. Initially, it was the raw arrogance of youth, the immediate superficiality. Sarah's bold designs, Elena's biting commentary, Chloe's dazzling social orbit. They exemplified the look-at-me culture. But then, Dr. Vance offered a deeper challenge. Her understanding of weaving, her academic insight into ancient cultures, it was a resonance. I had to show her the ultimate expression of the craft. And Sterling, the curator of superficial beauty, he celebrated the artifice, the hollow extravagance. I showed him the true, stark beauty of binding fate. Pendleton's eyes gleamed with a chilling pride. Each charm, you see, was unique. A slightly different pattern, a different knot. An evolution. My masterpiece, detective. And now you all bear witness to it. You will remember the Obsidian Weaver. The next few days were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, forensic confirmation, and media frenzy. Arthur Pendleton, the unassuming archivist, was formally charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. The news shook the nation. The quiet, invisible man had orchestrated a campaign of terror that had gripped a major American city, all driven by a profound sense of overlooked artistic genius and a twisted philosophy of binding societal wrongs. The trial was a spectacle. Pendleton, surprisingly, chose to represent himself, delivering eloquent, chilling monologues about the ephemeral nature of modern society and the enduring power of true craftsmanship. He spoke of Obsidian as a mirror to the soul, reflecting both light and impenetrable darkness. He argued, with chilling conviction, that he was merely an instrument of fate, correcting the imbalance that society had chosen to ignore. His defense was not that he didn't kill them, but that his actions were justified, a necessary act of artistic expression and societal curation. He presented meticulously drawn diagrams of his charms, lectured the jury on the history of obsidian in ritual, and even attempted to explain his weaving process in detail. The courtroom, initially shocked by his candor, quickly grew cold with the realization that he was utterly, irrevocably, insane. Dr. Reed testified, explaining the profound narcissistic personality disorder, the messianic complex, and the deep-seated resentment that had festered within Pendleton, transforming him into the cold, calculating killer. His need for recognition, for leaving an indelible mark, manifested in the most horrifying way imaginable. The jury, despite Pendleton's mesmerizing, if disturbing, performance, quickly returned a guilty verdict on all 5 counts. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As Arthur Pendleton was led away, his face remained serene, a faint, almost imperceptible smile still playing on his lips. He had achieved his goal. He was no longer invisible. His name, the Obsidian Weaver, was etched into the annals of American crime, a chilling testament to the power of a single, forgotten individual to cast a terrifying shadow over an entire nation. Corbin and Rossi watched him go, the weight of the past months heavy on their shoulders. The city slowly began to breathe again. Locks were still checked, But the pervasive fear began to recede, replaced by a lingering sense of unease. The Obsidian Weaver was gone, but the memory of his terror, and the meticulous, chilling beauty of his dark charms, would forever haunt the collective consciousness of Los Angeles and beyond. Miles Corbin, now a national figure for leading the investigation, felt no triumph, only a profound weariness. He looked at Isabella Rossi, who seemed to have aged a decade in a few months. "It's over," he said, the words feeling hollow even to his own ears. Rossi nodded, but her gaze was distant. "Is it ever really over, Miles? Or do we just move on to the next darkness?" The question hung in the air, unanswered, as the sun, once again, began to set over the sprawling, beautiful, and forever changed city of Los Angeles. The threads of fear had been cut, but the intricate, obsidian knots of memory remained, a silent, chilling reminder of the Weaver's dark legacy.